What's up, everyone? This is a pretty crazy day in the NFL. We now know who's going to be playing in the Super Bowl. But before, all right, but before we do know that, we need to recap the games that were. Start off in the AFC Championship game. Oh, what do we have here? Well, it's simple. We have the Tennessee Titans, who were the sixth seed, who came off defeating the reigning Super Bowl champion New England Patriots, as well as the one seed in the AFC, the 14-2 Baltimore Ravens, led by MVP quarterback Lamar Jackson. And here they are in the AFC Championship game against the Kansas City Chiefs, who, if you remember last week, were against the fourth-seeded Houston Texans, who beat the five-seeded Buffalo Bills after being down 16-0. And then when they were against the Texans, they were down 24-0 in the first quarter, and then they came back and they won by above 51 points, if I recall. And here they are hosting the AFC Championship game for the second year in a row. So what do we have here? Well, we had a team with two different philosophies. We had a team with very, very heavy on the passing game. Wasn't exactly great at the run defense, but was at least decent against a team that more of a game manager kind of style for their quarterback, and a team that played very, very physical in the run and also had a great offensive line. But they also, unlike the Chiefs, they struggled in terms of special teams. Now, granted, their punting is great. Brett Kern is one of the best punters in the league. Not the best. Johnny Hecker's the best one, but Kern's the best one in the AFC. But their kicking game, they have completed under 50% of their field goals this season. But even then, they still managed to make it this far. So, honestly, it didn't really matter. Their defense was also pretty good. Logan Ryan, Dory Jackson, names that come to mind. Jarrell Casey's always a stud for them. And you look at the Chiefs, you look on their defensive side, you get Frank Clark, they get acquired via trade from the Seahawks. Tyrann Mathieu, first team All-Pro season. You're also looking at other guys like Chris Jones. Just a lot of names that you have on that Chiefs defense. And you look at the game itself, and you would see that Tannehill, unlike the first few games, this team, the way that the Chiefs were able to use the Titans was, Titans came out early. They scored the first points, they scored the field goal, and the Chiefs punted, and then the Titans they went up 10-0. It looked like it was the Titans' game to lose, essentially. And even though the Chiefs got the ball back and scored the touchdown, Titans responded with their own touchdown to Kelly, big man, get the touchdown. Hey, he got more touchdowns than Dorial Green-Beckham, so it looks like the Titans won that trade. Beckham's been out of the game in 2016, and Kelly's still been with the Titans since the trade. So I see they've won that one. Either way, neither of them went to the Super Bowl when the Eagles did it. But then the second quarter happened, and the Chiefs' offense truly started moving. They took the lead at the end of the second quarter. No one scored any points in the third, and at the end of the game, the Chiefs would go on to win against the Tennessee Titans, 35-24. Chiefs go to their very first Super Bowl since 1969. That was back in Super Bowl IV. That was back when they advanced to Super Bowl IV when they beat the Minnesota Vikings. Now they're in Super Bowl 54, exactly 50 years later. Andy Reid finally gets to go to his second Super Bowl after going to Super Bowl 39 when he was still with the Eagles. You look at the Titans themselves. Why did the Titans lose? Well, Derrick Henry did not have a performance like he did the previous couple weeks against the Patriots and the Ravens. He only rushed for 69 yards. Surprisingly, not nice. Though he did have a touchdown. Tannehill also threw for above 100 yards. In fact, could the Super Bowl remind me? Maybe the worst mistake right before AHC when they run the ball twice and got us out third. It could be, but not every Super Bowl is the same. I mean, the Chiefs are good. The Chiefs are also good on the defensive side too. But as for the Titans, Tannehill had the ball in his hands for a lot more than before. He had over 200 yards. He had a couple touchdowns. He really distributed the ball out to Corey Davis and A.J. Brown and Adam Humphries and Jonnu Smith, amongst some other names. But as for the Chiefs, man, their defense really found a way to shut down Derrick Henry and the offensive line for the Titans. And they really got some pressure on Ryan Tannehill. Several sacks allowed. And the Chiefs' offense, my God. Patrick Mahomes did it again. 3 touchdowns and nearly 300 yards. He arguably is the best. You could honestly say he's the best quarterback in the game. And this offseason, whether they win the Super Bowl or not, he's gonna get paid very, very handsomely. And I would not be shocked if he becomes the highest paid quarterback in the game, because he has meant the difference to that entire team in the 2 years that he's been their starter. And yeah, here we are, the Kansas City Chiefs, after years of playoff misfortunes and heartaches and heartbreaks and collapses against teams like the Colts and the Titans and everything else. At long last, the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. It took them 5 decades, but by golly, by God, they finally made it. And you could say they honestly could have made it last year. If D4 wasn't offside, they'd probably be in the Super Bowl against the Rams. They would have been in the Super Bowl against the Rams, and they probably had a good chance to beat them too. But lo and behold, it didn't happen. But fortunately for them, they got back in the AFC Championship game. They were very fortunate to host the AFC Championship game again for the back-to-back seasons, and they got the job done this time. And they're in the Super Bowl. Got to be good for everyone there. Clark Hunt, Patrick Mahomes, really everyone. Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. Even though Sammy Watkins had the better performance, Tyreek Hill hit it up a couple touchdowns. He was good in this too. Frank Clark had the game-finishing sack. Kenny G writes, but with every Super Bowl, us Raiders fans in the Bay, let the NFC West worry about the 49er. I don't want to see Chiefs win a Super Bowl. Honestly, I just want to see a good game. I don't care who wins. I want to see a great game, though I am rooting for Andy Reid. But at the same time, I also do want to see George Kittle. I just want to see a great game. But that's the AFC and how that played out. So what happened in the NFC? Well, what happened in the NFC, I'll tell you. It was a game just like the Chiefs and the Titans that was a rematch early in the season, because if you recall, I don't know what week it was. I think it was like week 11, week 12. It was the Green Bay Packers going to San Francisco, and the 49ers would be hosting it. And in that game, the Niners just destroyed. They just beat them to the pulp against the Packers. It was 37-8. Not even close. It was all 49ers all the way, but here they are. Both of them finished 13-3. 49ers had the number 1 seed. Packers got the number 2 seed. People could argue, oh, was it first down? Was it not? Either way, Packers still could have won that game, and they did win that game, and here they are in the NFC Championship game. Another trivial fact, every single time that Rodgers has been the quarterback of the Packers, none of the teams that he's led have had a home field advantage for an NFC Championship game. So 2010, when they were against the Bears, and they won, that was in Chicago. 2014, even though that was the game that they blew against the Seahawks, that was in Seattle. 2016, the Falcons completely destroyed them. That was in Atlanta. And here they are in 2019. Well, even though it's 2020, but in the 2019 season, they were in San Francisco, or technically Santa Clara. Yeah, I kind of see the pattern here. Well, at least they did it in 2010. So it looks, man, I can't believe that was a decade ago. My God. At least the Packers are a well-run franchise, and it'll be. Both of these teams are going to be with a team. Both of these teams are going to be well equipped next season. I would not be shocked if this is a rematch again. The playoffs, NFC Championship game, that doesn't matter. But you look at the game itself. Aaron Rodgers, he was not elite. Now, granted, he completed 31 of 39 of his passes, and he threw a couple touchdowns. He had a few big throws here and there. But he did not play the game that you would hope he would play. He threw for 2 interceptions. Granted, one of them was at the end of the game, but still. He fumbled the ball 3 times, and he also lost one of them. So the ball handling was not well. And the offensive line as well, they just did not have anything to stop this 49ers front seven. They just hammered. They just demolished them oh my God, just run stuff, run stuff. Aaron Jones was not effective in this game, so they had to force the Packers to throw. And Adams had a good game. Adams did have a good game. He had over 100 yards. Everyone else, Graham, Allison, around 50 or less. But on the flip side, the Packers defense couldn't stop the running game of the 49ers. Now, the 49ers didn't have to involve the passing game because the running game was so good. So Garoppolo only threw for 8 passes. And I know people are going to want to say, oh, that shows he sucks. He sucked. Listen, when they need the throws, he makes them. He delivers. And the receiver is usually there for him. He does it well. He's a quality game manager. And, sometimes that has made the most of the difference. And his leadership could not be understated. And even though Tevin Coleman left the game with an elbow injury, that didn't matter because Raheem Mostert had the best game of his life. In fact, he broke so many records for running backs for the 49ers. In fact, at the end of the game, he had 220 rushing yards and a whopping 4. Yes, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 rushing touchdowns for Raheem Mostert. Not bad for a guy that went through 7 different teams in the span of like 2 years and was on the practice squad the last couple of years for the 49ers. And then suddenly he gets this big opportunity. And he has made the most of it. He's now going to be the lead back for a team that's going to the Super Bowl. That not a bad look to have on your resume. A very great story indeed, and I'm so happy for the dude. Meanwhile, Kittle didn't really go off, but honestly, it doesn't really matter. He's still a leader on that team. He is still arguably the best tight end in the game. And even though the Packers tried to come back late, it was a little too little, too late. And the Shanahan learned from mistakes with the Falcons. Yeah, Falcons fans are still realistically pissed off with him. They kept running the ball. He wasn't too aggressive at the end. He controlled the clock well. He kicked the field goal. And he let the defense do its job. And the San Francisco 49ers are going to the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs. Either you can call this the Super Bowl of the color red, the Red Bowl, or the Bowl of Montana, as Montana was with the 49ers for most of his entire career until the last 2 seasons where he was the Chiefs. The 2014 World Series, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be a game that has defense and running game and game managing, a young head coach versus a great quarterback, nice, more in the passing game, a little bit of a different defense, and an older, experienced head coach. It's going to be very different. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out, the Super Bowl. I do not have predictions for the Super Bowl just yet. I will give that to you next week. But it's got to be a tough break for Raiders fans. I mean, you have Tom Flores, and Tom Flores missed out because most likely they want to have Johnson and Cowher because it looked good on TV, and meanwhile, Coryell and Flores are still waiting, and people are furious about that, and understandably so. But then again, you also can't deny the fact that Cowher and Johnson are objectively deserving. Johnson changed the way we draft, and he created a dynasty, and Bill Cowher had the best winning percentage of all the finalists, and and the teams were always so consistent despite the revolving door at quarterback for so many years. And then you also have Cliff Branch, who also misses out for the Hall of Fame. And he dies literally the day of the induction ceremony last year. So that's got to be a really tough pill to swallow for Raiders fans. And on top of that, especially if fans in Oakland are not happy that the 49ers and the Chiefs are against the Super Bowl. Truly a Raiders fan's worst nightmare. But I don't care. It's a fun Super Bowl. It's going to be a very fun Super Bowl. It'll be 2 weeks from now. Rosario Smith, if you're upset that you're missing the Super Bowl, don't worry. You'll at least make the Pro Bowl now, so you don't have to worry about complain about being snubbed, because at least you'll make that. You can get rid of the snub talk. You'll make it. You and Preston Smith made the biggest difference of this Packers team. And Toilet Bowl, I don't know. This looks like a very good Super Bowl. Now, I think it's going to be a lot more memorable than the Super Bowl last year because maybe the 49ers are. I don't know. They might be my favorite right now, but the Chiefs have a good chance too. They can score a lot of points. I wouldn't hold them back. I wouldn't count them out. I think this is a Super Bowl that's going to be very, very close and down to the wire. So I can't really make my predictions yet. But if you think this is going to be a very easy one to decide, you're wrong, because it really isn't. Quit hating Kenny G. I never said anything about Kenny G. What did I say about Kenny G? I never mentioned saxophones or soprano saxes or anything. Um, all in all, I did pick the Titans to go to this, but deep down, I did want to see the Chiefs win because I do want to see Brady get a championship. Who will Raider Nation root for? The referees, I assume, but from my understanding, the refs did call a lot against the Raiders, but then again, couldn't that also speak to lack of discipline? Can't really blame the refs for everything. I guess you can root for a good game. Root for a good competitive game, and if you don't want to do that, at least root for the commercials to be good. At least you can do that. Or if you like music, you can root for the halftime show. You can root for the halftime show of Shakira and Jennifer Lopez. Yeah, ties aren't happening in the Super Bowl, buddy. I'm sorry. You need to have a winner. It's the playoffs. You can't settle for a tie because this is not the regular season, and even then, people do not like ties. Oh, you're going for the Niners. Well, I guess it makes sense. I mean, sure, they might have had a rivalry, but the Raiders also spent some time in Los Angeles, and now they're going to Las Vegas, so you can maybe say that they might have had that rivalry with the Rams as well, but I don't know. Can't really say the Chargers have much of a rivalry with the Rams. So I guess go Niners. I don't know. I think this is going to be very, very competitive. I think the Titans will retain Ryan Tannehill. I think Marcus Mariota will be somewhere else. I think Cameron Wake will retire. I think they will retain Derrick Henry. He had a phenomenal playoff run, even though his team lost, and even though he didn't play as well. Oh, go Chiefs too? Zenny, make up your mind. You're saying both. So I guess you're rooting for a good game too. Me too. Just rooting for a very competitive game. Yeah. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, and you're right. I remember Super Bowl 52 more than I remember Super Bowl 53. It was so forgettable, that game. I'm split. Yeah, I'm split too. I like both teams a lot. Niners starting out a dynasty. It's a very bold prediction to say because it's their first Super Bowl in appearance in like 7 years, and they also had the second pick in the draft last year. They've been pretty bad after Harbaugh left, so now they're back there. It's a little. I think it's very bold to say they're starting another dynasty. I think it's more like the Chiefs do it because Mahomes is younger, but then again, Reed is also older. But then again, the Niners have all their pieces again next season, so they can realistically make another run. And so the Packers, I would not be shocked if those two are against each other in the conference championship game or even any playoff game again. In fact, if the Packers and Niners play again, they will be tied with the Rams and the Cowboys for the most amount of playoff appearances by two different teams with 9. Because currently they have 8. Maybe he will. I mean, they win in so many ways, the 49ers. They can beat you with the passing game. They can beat you with the running game. They can beat you with the defense and special teams. They can beat you with so many different ways. They have so many different ways to win. My thoughts on Tom Brady as a Las Vegas Raider. I know that people were really spreading around the picture of Tom Brady and Mark Davis staring at each other, smiling at the McGregor Cowboy fight. But I think if he goes to defense, always win the Super Bowl. Not always. People say that, but that's not really the case because there have been other examples of offensive performances winning the Super Bowl and not defensive performances. It's just fun to say it, but in reality, it's far from the truth. Though I would say that with Tom Brady on the Raiders, I think you got to question what you're going to do with Derek Carr. Is he going to be in your long-term plans? And if not, where would you send him to? Would you send him to a team like the Bears or the Panthers, the Chargers? I don't know if they're going to trade with someone in their own division, but maybe the Patriots, but I don't see that happening either. The Buccaneers, if Jameis leaves. Does Tom Brady make the Raiders a contender? Well, Brady wasn't that great this year. The offensive line is good. They could get some nice weapons. Josh Jacobs has a nice young runner, a nice young running back. I also think if you want to also bring some people over in Las Vegas besides your regular traveling fan base for the Raiders, that'd be a nice way to do it. That'd be a nice way to get tickets in Las Vegas. You want to go see Tom Brady play for the Raiders? They would easily be the biggest tourist attraction. I don't think they would mind if they used Ken Stabler's number because the Raiders don't retire numbers, and Rich Gannon also used that number too. If I recall, I think Josh McCown also used that number. So nothing's retired. I think no one's going to care. Also, the idea of Tom Brady on the Raiders, I can't really see. I think it's more likely that he go with the Chargers than I do the Raiders. But if he does, I think his leadership can make a difference. Though I do wonder if Gruden's going to want his own guy or someone else's quarterback. It really comes down to what Gruden wants and also what Brady wants, because it depends on also where Brady's going to move. This is a very, very complicated question. But do I think they would make him better? Maybe. Probably. I think he can make a difference, especially with his playoff performances. And though he did look a bit old this year. Will the Raiders play in Oakland in 2020? I'm leaning towards no, because right now it looks like the stadium's almost complete, but at the same time, the roof isn't 100% done yet. It might take a while. It might take during August or even September for that to happen. So I personally would not be shocked if they play in Oakland, but I think the chances of that happening are not really likely. So they could stay in Oakland, but I think it's more likely that they play in Las Vegas. And if not at the stadium, they'd probably start out somewhere else in Las Vegas, probably a temporary home until their regular one was called like Allegiant Stadium or something like that. I need to know what the new name is. I'm not really sure. Maybe, but I don't see it. I don't see him going back to Los Angeles either. Because the Raiders, I think, are just gonna stay where they're gonna stay in. They're gonna go to Las Vegas, where they'll be there permanently. When I say permanently, I mean at least for the next 25 years. And San Diego, the Raiders. San Diego Raiders. Maybe I could see San Diego. I mean, San Diego is closer to Las Vegas than Oakland. I would not be shocked if that happens. Temporary home for 1 year. I could see it. I mean, many of the fans in San Diego have either maybe still be with the Chargers, or they might have left altogether and are just tired of them. So maybe the city of San Diego would want a temporary home because there's more Raiders fans in Los Angeles than there are Chargers fans, especially considering the fact that Raiders were there for like 10 years in the Coliseum. So I would not be shocked. It could happen, but I think the most likely by far is that they go to Las Vegas in 2020. I think then Oakland might be a number 2 option, and then San Diego will be a number 3 option. San Antonio. I do not see San Antonio at all as a temporary home for the Raiders, especially considering the fact that you'd be having to move your team from Oakland all the way down to San Antonio, and then going all the way back to Las Vegas. I think the travel of that is ridiculous. I think they were to do something like that, it would be more likely for San Diego than San Antonio, especially considering the fact that San Diego just recently had a team in 2016, and you still have a lot of people that are interested in football down there. But it would only be 1 year at most. That's all I can see. Though the draft will be in Las Vegas, though. There's no question about that. It will be in Las Vegas. I'm not exactly sure where, but it will be in Las Vegas, the draft. I do not see them making any last-minute changes to where the draft would be, wherever it's in like Green Bay or Cleveland, Boston, Richmond. Geek Freak says, Kittle will prove Kelsey once and for all. He's easily the best tight end on the planet. It's a coin flip right now. Now that Gronkowski's retired and Graham's not the same player as he used to be, it's really between those two. Even though that Hooper also had a good year and Ertz also played well hurt, it's between Hooper and Kittle. Not Hooper. It's Kittle and Kelsey. The two best tight ends in the league are against each other in the Super Bowl. That really intrigues me. Kyle Juszczyk, the best fullback in the league, and Anthony Sherman, another one of the better fullbacks, because there's not a lot of teams with fullbacks, and Juszczyk is very, very different. right now I'd say that Kelsey's the better one, though Kittle is great too. He's another great one. Those are easily the two best ones for me, no question. And as for quarterback, he also came black and drops a lot of passes. Yeah, he does. Did you hear that Henry Gardner stated that Las Vegas Stadium had the chance to play Vegas? No, I did not. Though Zenny did tell me that there are some construction issues with the stadium in Las Vegas, so I'd keep an eye open for that. And I personally would not be shocked if the Raiders end up hosting a international series game. I don't think it would happen, but I would not be shocked if it does happen. I think the 5 teams that will have an international series game would be the Falcons, because that's confirmed, the Dolphins, because that's confirmed, the Jaguars, because they do that every year, the Cardinals, because they're giving up a Super Bowl, they're giving up a Super Bowl, they're giving up a home game for a Super Bowl, and probably whoever plays against the Packers at their home. So I would guess the Colts. So I don't see the Raiders. It could, but that would be if they had a 6th game, and maybe they could have another game in Mexico City, but I think we would only get 1 game in Mexico City. That is maybe unless they add another game to another city, like maybe like Frankfurt or Berlin or Paris or Madrid. I could see maybe the Raiders doing something like that. That could be pretty interesting. And the Raiders have played in London. They played in Mexico City. Why not play in a place like Berlin? Maybe. Let's see what happens. I mean, we'll take it one day at a time. We just got to see what it plays out. And we'll see if there's any construction delays. And if there's any construction delays, they'll be in Oakland for another season. If there's not any construction delays, then they'll be in Las Vegas. And if there is somewhere in between, they might be in San Diego. But I think it's most likely they're going to be in Las Vegas for the 2020 season. That is, unless anything changes. Yo, Vinny, Joseph, you and I are going tonight. Wrap this up so I can call you. Okay. Thank you. So, guys, thank you so much for listening to my vlog about this. This was very, very fun, and I guess go refs. I don't know. I just hope for a good game, and see you guys. Bye.